Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a market that, well, you might not think about every day.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the report we're looking at, it's showing some seriously interesting growth numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We're focusing specifically on the Litsea Cubeba oil market.
That's right. Yeah, we've got our hands on a recent report from Cognitive Market Research. It really digs into the global market for Litsea Cubeba oil, charting its growth and, future projections.
So our mission here is basically to cut through the raw data, pull out the really important bits, and understand where this essential oil market is heading.
Exactly. Think of it like getting the distilled essence of the market report itself, like the oil.
Ah, nice one. And when you look at the global figures, the story is really one of rapid expansion. The report shows that back in 2021, the worldwide sales revenue was around, what, $37 million?
37 million, yeah. But fast forward just a few years to 2025, and that's expected to climb to over $50 million.
Okay, decent job.
But the real headline number, I think, is the long-term projection. By 2033, the report forecasts the market reaching over $95 million.
Wow, 95 million. So that means the market size is expected to, nearly triple from its 2021 level over this forecast period.
Pretty much, yeah. Nearly tripling. It's significant.
And what's powering that kind of sustained growth? The report mentions a global compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, right? It's 8.2%?
An 8.2% CAGR, yes. And projected over a decade. That isn't just, solid growth. It's pretty significant sustained momentum.
Right.
For a market segment like this, it suggests there are strong underlying forces driving demand, forces expected to stick around for years.
So not just a quick fad.
No, it looks more like a fundamental shift, pushing that market value up.
Okay, so that's the big global picture. A market well on its way to almost 100 million annually, growing at over 8%.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the report, it really gets interesting when you start looking at the regional breakdowns, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Where should we start? North America.
Yeah, let's kick off with North America.
Okay, so the report shows North America is, a significant part of the market, figures going from about $7.5 million in 2021
Okay.
to a projected $18.9 million by 2033. The regional CAGR there is a steady 8%.
8%, okay. And within North America, I see the growth rates vary a little bit.
They do. The United States, being the biggest economy, naturally makes up the largest chunk. It's projected to hit over 10 million by 2033, with a CAGR just under that 8% mark, around 7.8%.
Right. And Canada.
Canada's tracking slightly higher, actually, at 8.1% CAGR, expected to reach about 5.5 million.
Interesting. But you mentioned Mexico was noteworthy.
Yeah, what's interesting in North America is Mexico. Okay, it's starting from a smaller base, only 1.2 million in 2021.
Right.
But the report indicates Mexico's growing the fastest in that region. Its CAGR is 8.5%, projected to more than double its market size by 2033, reaching 3.3 million.
So maybe faster adoption or demand building more quickly there.
Yeah. That's what it suggests, yeah. Perhaps catching up or finding new applications faster?
Okay, interesting. Now, shifting gears to Europe, this region actually held the largest market share back in 2021, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Just over $9 million, $9.3 million to be precise.
And the report projects Europe growing to, what was it, a substantial $24.9 million by 2033.
That's right. And also at a healthy 8.5% regional CGR, so matching that global average we saw.
Okay. And Europe seems like, well, a real mosaic of different growth rates, according to this report.
It really is fascinating. You've got established economies like Germany and France showing solid expansion, around 8% and 8.1% CAGR respectively.
Germany hitting about 5.3 million, France 3.6 million by 2033?
Exactly. And the UK is noted for slightly faster growth, actually at 9%, looking to reach almost 5 million.
9%, okay. But then there's some real standouts.
Oh, yeah. If you look deeper, Italy stands out. Strong 9.1% CAGR, projected to grow from 1.3 million to 3.7 million.
Wow, 9.1%.
And perhaps most surprisingly, the category they labeled Rest of Europe is projected to have the highest CAGR across all regions mentioned in the report, a remarkable 10.7%.
10.7, that's huge. What's driving that, I wonder?
Well, the report doesn't specify which countries exactly make up that Rest of Europe figure, but it suggests some smaller or perhaps Eastern European markets are really embracing this oil. It's definitely something that catches your eye.
It certainly does. It points to, different levels of market maturity or maybe just differing speeds at which the demand drivers, which we'll get to, are taking hold across Europe.
Right. It's definitely not just one uniform European market.
Okay, moving east then. The report highlights Asia-Pacific as one of the fastest expanding regions globally for this market.
Yes, absolutely. Its revenue was over 11 million back in 2021, 11.2 million.
And it's projected to reach a pretty significant 30.2 million by 2033.
30.2 million, yeah. And mirroring Europe's robust 8.5% regional CAGR.
So Asia-Pacific seems to be a major engine for this market's expansion.
It certainly looks that way. The report specifically calls out China as a standout market. It's projected to reach $11 million by 2033.
And its CAGR.
A strong 8.9%. And India is right there with it, also experiencing rapid growth at an 8.9% CAGR, going from 1.4 million to 4 million.
So China and India really powering ahead.
Definitely. And another strong performer highlighted is Australia, a robust 9.1% CAGR.
Matching Italy.
Exactly. Projected to grow from just under a million to 2.6 million. Then you have countries like Japan, South Korea, Southeast Asia also showing solid growth, mostly around the 8% mark.
So the collective picture for Asia-Pacific is really one of dynamic and accelerated growth.
That's the takeaway, yeah. A very dynamic region for this oil.
Okay. What about Latin America? The report suggests this market is gaining traction there, too.
It is, yeah, definitely gaining traction, though maybe starting from a smaller overall base compared to, say, Europe or APAC.
Right.
Brazil is noted as the largest market player in Latin America. It's projected to reach 3.4 million by 2033, growing at a 7.3% CAGR.
Okay, so a bit slower than the global average, but still solid.
Still solid, yes.
Yeah.
Argentina shows growth too, but at a slightly...
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Still solid, yes.
Yeah.
Argentina shows growth too, but at a slightly slower pace again, 6.7% CAGR, reaching about 2.1 million.
And the others.
Countries like Colombia, Peru, and Chile are also contributing to the region's expansion. They generally see KGRs in the, 6.6% to 8% range, according to the report. So growing, but perhaps not quite as explosively as some other areas.
Makes sense. And finally, the Middle East and Africa region.
Right, MEA. The report points to Egypt leading this region in terms of projected growth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, expected to increase from about 0.8 million in 2021 to 2.1 million by 2033. That's with an 8.4% CAGR.
So slightly above the global average there.
Just slightly, yeah. Turkey and the rest of the Middle East also show steady growth rates, around 7.2% and 7.9% respectively.
Okay. So we've seen these pretty significant numbers of market projected to nearly triple globally, different regions growing at different speeds. But what's actually driving this demand for Litsea Cubeba Oil specifically? Why these numbers?
That's the key question, isn't it? The report connects these figures back to several key forces shaping consumer markets today.
Okay.
The first one is, well, it's pretty broad. The growing consumer interest in natural ingredients. People are increasingly looking for products with components they see as natural or, plant-derived.
Right. That's a huge trend across the board. Makes sense.
Exactly. And tied right into that is the rise of wellness trends. Essential oils, including Litsea Cubeba, fit squarely into this movement. They're associated with natural living, well-being, aromatherapy.
Yeah, you see essential oils everywhere now.
You do. And thirdly, the report highlights the increasing use of oils like Litsea Cubeba in very specific product categories: cosmetic, food, and personal care products.
Ah, okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Precisely. The demand isn't just theoretical, it's because manufacturers are actively putting it into new things, whether it's a new facial serum, maybe a food or beverage flavoring, or a natural soap or shampoo.
And Litsea Cubeba has that, bright, lemony scent.
Exactly. That fresh, bright, citrusy, maybe slightly woody scent. It makes it a really popular choice for natural fragrances and flavorings. It's quite uplifting.
So these trends, the desire for natural stuff, the focus on wellness, and its actual use in everyday products.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental why behind these strong growth numbers we've been seeing everywhere.
That's how the report connects it, yes. It shows how those broader consumer shifts translate directly into demand for specific ingredients like this oil.
It really brings the data to life when you understand the consumer behaviors and industry shifts underpinning it all.
Definitely.
So to kind of wrap up this deep dive into the cognitive market research report, the core takeaway seems pretty clear. The Litsea Cubeba oil market is experiencing significant rapid growth globally.
Projected to nearly triple by 2033, driven by that strong 8.2% global TIGR.
And while North America and Europe are obviously major players, regions like Asia-Pacific are showing particularly dynamic expansion.
Absolutely. With those standout growth rates we saw in places like China, India, and Australia. And within Europe, Italy and that intriguing rest of Europe category are also accelerating quickly.
It really demonstrates how even, seemingly niche markets like one specific essential oil can be powerful indicators of broader shifts.
Exactly. In this case, it clearly reflects that increasing consumer pull towards natural ingredients and wellness, and you see it echoed in the formulation choices of major industries.
It's a fascinating glimpse into how these big trends translate directly into market value. And this report, well, it gives us a really solid foundation for understanding where this particular market is headed.
Agreed.
But it also leaves you with a question to maybe mull over, doesn't it? We've seen such a wide spectrum of growth rates mentioned in the report, right? From, what was it, 6.7% CPR in Argentina,
Yeah, down there.
all the way up to that striking 10.7% in the rest of Europe. Given they're all essentially trading in the same product, what specific local or regional factors could it be? Regulations, specific industry focus, maybe unique consumer preferences might be causing these really significant differences in how fast the market is accelerating.
That's a great question to ponder. What makes one market jump so much faster than another for the same ingredient? Lots to think about there. Okay, welcome everyone to this deep dive. We've been looking at a market pulse source to explore something maybe a little unfamiliar, Litsea Cubeba oil.
That's right. It's a natural essential oil. Most people probably know it, if at all, for its really vibrant citrus scent. But the source shows it's quite a bit more than just a nice smell. It has some interesting therapeutic properties, too.
So a natural citrus oil, but with benefits. Our mission today is really to unpack the story of this market. We want to look at what's pushing it forward, maybe what's holding it back, and some genuinely surprising places where it seems to be popping up.
Exactly. It feels niche, maybe,
Hmm?
but the source suggests it actually has potential across a surprisingly wide range of sectors.
Okay, let's jump right into what's driving its growth then. The source points to a few pretty powerful currents in the market right now. And the first one feels very much aligned with these bigger shifts we see everywhere, the demand for natural ingredients.
Oh, absolutely. There's this huge consumer movement towards plant-based solutions. You see it especially in personal care, cosmetics. Litsea Cubeba oil fits right in there. The source notes its use in, everyday things like soaps, shampoos, but also more specialized organic skincare formulas.
And it's not just natural slapped on the label, is it? The source digs into the actual properties, making it appealing here.
Right. It kind of offers both things people want,
Mm-hmm.
perceived effectiveness and that sensory pleasure. The source mentions its reported antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. Combine that with the clean, sort of uplifting citrus smell
Yeah.
for companies and consumers looking for clean labels, fewer synthetic ingredients, more transparency. It really checks a lot of boxes.
Clean labels, yeah, that term is everywhere now. Okay, so natural personal care, that's a clear driver. Where else is this oil gaining ground because of this whole wellness trend?
Well, the boom in aromatherapy and just general well-being is massive for Litsea Cubeba oil. The source really highlights its role here.
How's it being used in that space specifically?
It's valued for its reported ability to help, reduce stress, promote a bit of emotional balance. The source calls it a cheerful, zesty oil. You'll find it in things like massage oils, diffusers, those relaxation blends. It has the fragrance people want, but also this kind of functional element to wellness products.
Right, so it taps into that desire for products that do more than just smell nice. They're meant to contribute to a feeling or a state of mind.
Precisely. It aligns perfectly with that focus on holistic well-being that's driving so many buying decisions these days.
Okay. And the third major driver our source mentions, this one seems like a bit of a departure from skin creams and mood boosters.
It is, yeah, but it actually makes perfect sense when you look at the properties again. Litsea Cubeba oil is carving out a niche in the eco-friendly home care market.
Home care. You mean like cleaning products?
Exactly that. There's this rising demand for natural alternatives for disinfecting, for air purification. The source points to its use in natural surface sprays, deodorizers, basically because of its antifungal and antibacterial properties. It gives you cleaning power without those harsh synthetic chemicals that, consumers are increasingly trying to avoid.
Huh. That's fascinating versatility. So from soothing your skin and lifting your mood to cleaning your kitchen counters, its natural properties and that nice scent are really opening doors.
Yeah, that versatility and the fact that it aligns with these big consumer shifts, natural living, wellness, eco-friendliness, that's what's really fueling its current momentum, according to the source.
Okay, so with all that pushing it forward, what's actually stopping Litsea Cubeba from being, everywhere already? What are the hurdles?
The source points to a few key challenges. A big one is just its relatively limited global awareness.
Ah, so it's still kind of a hidden gem compared to, say, tea tree oil or peppermint?
Oh, much more so. Compared to household names like lavender or eucalyptus, its name recognition is, well, it's pretty low. And that really limits its adoption in broader consumer product categories. It tends to stay more in specialized aromatherapy circles or maybe specific regional formulations for now.
So a lot of people just don't know it exists or what it's even good for.
Right. Building that widespread recognition, that's a significant marketing challenge. And then there's something else critical the source highlights. Its agricultural dependency.
How does that become a problem, like where it's grown?
Yeah, Litsea Cubeba is primarily cultivated.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Like where it's grown?
Yeah, Litsea Cubeba is primarily cultivated in quite specific regions, mainly China and Southeast Asia. This geographical concentration makes the whole production process vulnerable. We're talking climate variations affecting harvests, seasonal yields that aren't always consistent depending on farming practices,
Yeah.
even local rule changes.
Ah, okay. So if there's bad weather in one key area or farming isn't quite standardized, the whole supply chain gets a bit shaky.
Precisely. And for manufacturers who need really reliable, consistent ingredient sourcing to scale up production, that leads to unstable supply, unpredictable costs, fluctuations. It's a real risk for them.
Okay, so awareness and supply chain reliability are major concerns. Are there any, like, inherent challenges with the oil itself once it's actually produced?
Yes, the source does mention that. Despite being natural, Litsea Cubeba oil can cause skin irritation or allergic reactions in some people, particularly those with sensitive skin.
So it's not automatically gentle just because it's natural?
Correct. It's not usually a deal breaker, but it does mean stricter regulatory rules and formulation requirements for companies using it, especially in products that go directly on the skin. And that inevitably drives up the complexity, the compliance costs, the production costs.
Got it. So limited recognition, supply vulnerable because of geography, and potential skin sensitivity. Those are the main obstacles it's facing.
Those are the key restraints the source outlines, yes.
But despite those hurdles, the source does paint a picture of real future potential. Where are we seeing this oil maybe start to break out in new, maybe unexpected ways? What are the exciting trends?
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The source points to functional foods and beverages as a really promising emerging area.
Wait, hang on. An essential oil traditionally used for scent in something you eat or drink. How does that even work?
Well, what's really interesting here, and this is a key insight from the source, is that unlike a lot of essential oils that are valued either for their smell or their function, Litsea Cubeba seems to uniquely offer both. It has this desirable, naturally citrusy flavor profile and those proven antimicrobial benefits we talked about. That dual nature is what suddenly opens up functional foods and beverages as a massive potential market shift.
So it's not just about adding a citrus taste, it's potentially acting as a kind of natural preservative too.
Exactly. The source says it's being tested as a clean label flavor enhancer and a preservative. Think health drinks, herbal teas, plant-based nutritional products. This taps directly into that whole global movement towards functional nutrition foods and drinks designed to give health benefits beyond just basic calories and, of course, clean eating.
Wow, okay. That capability really does differentiate it. Where else is it showing up that feels kind of new?
In the lifestyle segment, specifically premium home fragrance.
Like high-end diffusers and fancy candles?
Precisely. Premium brands are starting to infuse it into luxury candles, incense, diffusers. The source highlights its refreshing and calming scent profile as being perfect for that kind of premium branding. It offers something unique, maybe a bit exotic compared to the usual natural scents. It's a really clear crossover between those wellness benefits we discussed earlier and the consumer demand for high-end home ambiance products.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. People are willing to invest quite a bit in creating a specific atmosphere at home, and a unique natural scent fits right into that.
And the third trend that the source emphasizes is just crucial across the entire natural product world right now: sustainable and ethical sourcing.
Right. How is that specifically impacting the Litsea Cubeba market, though?
Well, consumers increasingly expect transparency, environmental responsibility, right down to the raw ingredients. For Litsea Cubeba, given its specific growing regions, things like sourcing transparency, certifications, fair trade practices, they aren't just nice-to-haves anymore. The source suggests they are becoming crucial market differentiators.
So it's not enough just to have the oil. You have to be able to show how you got it. ethically and sustainably.
Exactly. The source really points out that companies demonstrating sustainable harvesting, especially from those biodiverse and sometimes ecologically sensitive regions where it grows, they build deeper customer trust and potentially long-term brand loyalty. It adds this whole other layer of value beyond just the ingredient's basic properties.
That makes a lot of sense. Consumers are definitely getting much savvier about the whole journey of natural ingredients, aren't they?
Absolutely. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, these trends, functional foods, premium fragrance, ethical sourcing, they really show how brands are strategically trying to leverage Litsea Cubeba's unique properties. They're using it to meet these evolving consumer values and demands, moving it beyond its traditional, maybe more limited applications.
Okay, so stepping back from the source material for a moment, we see these significant opportunities for Litsea Cubeba. They're driven by powerful trends like clean beauty, the wellness boom, functional foods, that demand for sustainable sourcing.
Yeah, those are the major forces creating potential tailwinds for the market, definitely.
But those opportunities are tempered by some real challenges,
Yeah.
particularly that supply vulnerability tied to where it grows and that ongoing need to build broader consumer awareness.
And you can't forget the technical complexity added by potential skin sensitivity.
Right, good point. Yet the source seems to suggest that innovative applications, especially that potential move into food and beverage, combined with a strong focus on ethical and sustainable sourcing, that could genuinely unlock vast potential for this oil. It could help it navigate those hurdles.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a market that's, relatively small now, but could see significant expansion if it successfully leans into these new applications and manages to address those supply chain and awareness gaps.
It really does. So for you listening and thinking about this material, here's maybe a question to consider. How does the journey of a relatively unknown natural ingredient like Litsea Cubeba oil kind of highlight the interconnectedness of global supply chains, shifting consumer values around health and sustainability, and the constant innovation happening even in seemingly niche markets?
Yeah, think about where you might encounter Litsea Cubeba oil next. Maybe it'll be in your supplements or your cleaning products or that new fancy candle. And what does its presence there signal about these broader market forces and consumer expectations we've been talking about today?
Understanding the specific details behind the rise and challenges of ingredients like this, it really shows how broader lifestyle trends translate into the actual products we see and use every day.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.